Luca Nation, welcome back. Episode 890 of Lucas Tigers and Bronze. Oh my, we are bringing back one of your favorite segments. It's the Coffee with Cage segment. And if you want to have your question featured, you can leave it in the comments. And we're going to be doing this segment every single Friday. 3 questions. Maybe there will be a bonus round. You could leave it in the comments and I'll feature it on next week's show. Now, if you guys haven't had a chance to listen, Cage and Cajun did an amazing episode yesterday covering the NBA, MVPs, and there was kind of an amazing question that dovetailed into a question someone else asked. You actually, Cage, asked Cajun, with all this said, there's this parity, right? Like I think Jason Tatum is 3-1 to win MVP, Cage 4-1, Luka 3-1. Why not invest or sprinkle a little money on the odds of MVP instead of buying cards, right? You asked Cajun that question, right?
Yeah.
So I thought it was interesting, and I thought it was interesting for this reason, because if you ask someone that question, let's say in August of 2020 when cards were going up, well, it's like, well, I believe the answer would have been, hey, because there's still upside with cards, but if you're wrong and one of the guys doesn't win MVP, you still might have the upside in the cards, but you're not losing your money if he doesn't win MVP. Listening to yesterday's episode, I thought that answer changed because more than likely, if you pulled 80, 90% of the hobby, they would say that all of those guys' cards will either be flat or down in 3 months. So the risk-reward equation actually has changed. Thoughts on that? Did that make sense? Did I do a good job explaining it? We'll get into the 3 questions in a minute from our audience. I have 3 really good ones here for you. But does that make sense? Because when the market's going up, well, you have the opportunity of, okay, I'm right and I get 3x my money if I hit on a Jason Tatum MVP prop, but I could also get 2x or 1.5x with Jason Tatum's cards, but I'm also a collector and I'm holding his cards. At the same time, there's more downside risk, but the reward here with the MVP prop might be higher. Any thoughts on that before we jump into the 3 questions?
Yeah. So, I mean, what I was trying to get out of Cajun, I didn't get, and I think it's kind of what you're asking is the hobby window is different. And I think what we had here is if you were to go back in your DeLorean a couple years, the vast majority of people in the hobby were buying cards to own cards. Okay, they were buying cards to have those cards. They were buying cards because they enjoyed cards. Maybe they had been in it for a while. Maybe they came back into, the hobby because it was nostalgia, because they had a guy who they wanted to collect. It's their guy. Remember, way back before he was part of the business of the hobby, he came in as a collector. Lefko would say, "That's my guy." I think he was talking about Russell Wilson. I wonder if he's still his guy. But you'd say, "Okay, I'm going to collect this." Now, when you had that, your window on your guy was a wider window. It was a more lengthy time period that you were thinking about owning your guy, even if it was rookie, even if you were, quote unquote, I don't use the word prospecting because a couple of years back, when you jump over DeLorean, the word prospecting wasn't really there. Bowman, baseball, you had to have a long window because you're buying these guys when they're 15, 16, 17 years old. They're not going to actually get to the majors for 3-4 years. Look, Aaron Judge has 2013 Bowman cards. He didn't get to the majors till 2017, right? And he didn't really even do anything until, 18, now obviously 2022. So, the window is long when you're quote unquote prospecting. And what I see, you wouldn't want to bet on MVP or bet on one of those guys like a prop or whatever it was, because your window is, okay, it's tonight's game or it's just the next month. Is this player going to be an MVP? Whereas if you were going to be buying at the time, Devin Booker cards, whether he went off for 50 or had 25 or whatever it was going to be, you're like, okay, I'm going to buy this guy's cards. I'm going to hold it. I'm going to watch him have a career and go to the finals and watch maybe my card value goes up a little bit, but I have a window. And if I want to sell, all right, maybe he wins a championship. Maybe he does this. Maybe he scores 65. Or you have all these things where, all right, I can sit on it with many different exits. Now, you take your DeLorean forward a couple years into 2020, 2021, and the people who got into the hobby, they came in with different windows. And I think the hobby got a little more gambling, got a little more quick fixy, got a little more flippy. I can use a whole bunch of other words that I'll make up right now. But when the hobby got like that, right, and people were looking for this, like boom, 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 while prices were going up, you could have that instant return. You could have that, I'm sorry to keep doing this to you, buy on PWCC, sell on whatnot after a good game. You could have that, hey, I like Devontae Graham and bought him for $1 and he drops 40 against the Nets, and boom, I use that example with Cajun, same kind of thing, right? You could have that quick, and you didn't need to bet. You didn't need to have that, I'm going to bet on Devin Booker to score 50 tonight, because if Devin Booker scored 50, guess what? You had that card, and you could sell it the next day and profit. Maybe not double your cards. Yeah, you could day trade cards, and that's why, Star Stock, when it was, first pitched, sounded like a great idea. It was like fantasy for your cards, right? Oh, wow. Mm-hmm. I remember buying Tyler Johnson hollows the morning before he got the start for the Jets, thinking, he scores a couple touchdowns that night. You could sell some. I mean, yes.
Star Stock, actually.
I'm
the stock market of cards.
The stock market of cards. I mean, that was kind of the way that people did it. But what's funny is, for that year and a half, 2 years, you were able to get that quick hit. And people came in looking for that. People came in trying to buy somebody, be right about their performance, and then sell that via cards, right? And we used to compare it, right? I used to talk about fantasy football, sports betting, cards, and say, all right, which one's taboo? Remember, sports betting used to be really taboo. Fantasy was like, that wasn't water cooler stuff. Now everybody's doing fantasy. They're doing daily fantasy. Well, cards became, oh, wow, well, that's the next thing. Let's get out of our basement. Cards are cool again. Remember that whole, the manifesto that was written about it and all that stuff? Let's get out of the basement. Cards are cool. But what made it cool was it was another way of betting on your guy. It was another way of getting that turnaround. And what I've noticed now is as the market crested and comes down, right, you don't have the ability to say, all right, you know what? I think Luka is going to have, 3 straight games where he has 40, 50, 60-point triple-doubles. I'm going to buy that card and I'm going to sell. Yeah, you can still do that, right? But it's not there. It's not there with everyone. It's not like a stock market. It's not a quick fix. And there are instances where someone could have a good year and their cards go down. Patrick Mahomes can win the Super Bowl and his card goes down. Giannis can win the MVP and his cards go down. Jokic can win it. It doesn't make a difference. So I believe that the people who came in and no longer have the ability to have that quick hit kind of turnaround, that sports betting stock market-y kind of, I'm picking my guy, and it leans back towards betting. It leans back towards betting on it. But there's a huge difference, man. I mean, there's a huge difference between the two. If you have a long enough window on cards, it's not an all or nothing proposition, whereas gambling, betting, especially if you're going to bet Anthony Simons is going to have 7 assists or more tonight. Well, what if he has 6 and 50 points? You're happy you have that card, but you're not happy you made the bet that he's going to have 8 assists because he only had 7, even though he had this monstrous game. It's a different kind of analysis. Go ahead, man.
So I urge you guys to go and listen to that episode. It aired yesterday. It was really interesting. I actually listened to it this morning on my walk. And it brings me to the first question for today's show. So, guys, if you want your question featured on this segment, this will be a Friday Q&A segment where we pick 3 questions and 3 questions only, and Cage answers them.
And Cage doesn't see them ahead of time. Remember, that's correct. The format. I don't know any of them.
So put them in the comments on this YouTube video. I'm not going to go out there and search for your questions. If you want your question answered, put it in the comments of this video. So it actually dovetails into this question. Should we hold off buying since whatever we buy now will be 20% down 20% or more in the next 2 months, 3 months?
Okay. So I love the question. And we're not going to, do what some people get very angry at us for trying to compare cards to stocks. Right? Oh, you can't. They're not liquid. Try selling them. Try liquidating 100 PSA 10s of something. It's not a stock. But that doesn't stop me from using the old Warren Buffett terminology that we like to throw around on the show, right? So our friend, Warren the Walrus, he would say, be greedy when others are fearful when others are greedy. And we didn't listen, even though we were saying this stuff, we were talking about this, but when everything was going good, right? And everybody is we're all high-fiving and we're all, doubling our money and, everything's going great. And it didn't matter who you bought. It was going up. Nobody really did enough, I don't think, to take enough money off the table to realize, wow, okay, this can't just keep going. The upward direction, there is gravity to this stuff, right? The supply can't keep increasing and still prices go up, right? Eventually there's going to be, a time where there's too much supply, where the prices can't sustain the continued growth, right? And as Andrew likes to say, somebody gets left holding that bag of crap.
So Cage, I was listening to on the Warren Buffett thing. I was listening to his interview, end of the year interview, about an hour 20 with Charlie Rose. Sit down face to face, Warren Buffett, Charlie Rose, and he was talking about this concept. He's like, when stocks fall, the general public thinks it's terrible, it's bad, it's time to panic. Where for him, when he sees stocks falling, he actually thinks it's a good thing because he can buy more. And he doesn't actually use the word stock in this interview.
No.
He says he's buying American
assets.
companies,
Yep.
American businesses.
Mm-hmm.
So I could buy more American businesses for the same price.
Well, the flip side to hear what I was saying was, hey, when it was going up, no one's thinking about it going up. What's funny is when it's going up, everybody in unison, like a chorus singing Christmas carols, and it sounds perfect, is all saying, we're all going to make it. We're going to the moon. We're all going to make it. We're all high-fiving, and we're all geniuses, and we're all making money, and blah, blah, blah. And what's funny is right now, everyone's singing in unison. Everybody's got the chorus down. And the chorus that everybody is singing on the bottom now, and I don't want to call it bottom, I'm using stock terminology again, is, well, we all know the market's going to be down 20% from here. We all know 2023 is going to be blood in the streets. We all know everything's going down. I mean, that Michael Jordan 86 foot is going to be $30,000, according to the geniuses all over Twitter. I mean, everything's going back to pre-2019, pre-COVID. Everything's going back. And I don't hear a single person saying otherwise. Just like I didn't hear a single person preaching any type of caution, myself included, because you just don't see it. That's the other fun saying I thought.
The Michael Jordan Fleer is $1 million card.
Well, it's $1 million card.
Chrome is
why would I sell it for
$100,000?
$400,000? It's going to be $1 million. Why would anybody sell it? I mean, we're all blind because when it's going good, it's very hard for our brains to think about it's. There'll be a day where it's not going this good. Just like when it's going bad, it's very hard for us to think of it's going to turn around. Usually it does. Usually we find that middle ground. And what's funny is I love this question. The answer is an emphatic no, but I'm not going to tell you what to do with your money. But to me, we're getting to a time where, and this doesn't mean guys go out and buy hand over fist because things are going to double again. We may never have a doubler ever. But to me, if I hear every single person in unison saying, well, it's going to go down, it's going to go down, it's going to go down, that's like, fade the public. It's like everybody saying, well, we better bet on the Chiefs, when they play. Well, we better bet on the Dallas Cowboys, a double-digit favorite against the Texans, and then the Texans go out and beat them, right? Usually when everybody's saying, well, we all know, I'm not going to buy cards down 20%, there's probably some other side spin to it. So to me, this is everybody's fearful. And when everybody's fearful, people like Warren Buffett are a little more greedy. Now, guys, I'm no genius. And I cannot call the market, and I do not have a crystal ball. And I'm not telling you right now, this is the bottom, everybody go scoop it up. Because I will tell you just from, complete and total honesty, I thought, just like, Cobra Chronicles, Josh thought in his story, that LeBron was hitting a bottom in May and started buying LeBron cards in May. And I was clearly wrong about that because the cards are now 60% of the price of what they were in May. Even the card that I purchased. But I don't mind that because I do believe if I hold that card long enough, it will go back to where I bought it and or up. But the rest of the world is saying I should sell it because it's going to go down another 20%. I don't know that happens. The other little tidbit that I'll throw on this is This question, which I love because everybody's thinking it, it paints with too broad of a brush. Because even if we are at a bottom, even if we are at a point where everybody's being fearful and there should be some greed showing up in our buying activity, this question can't apply to everything in the hobby. There will be things that go down 20%. There will be things that go down 50%. There'll be things that go up 20%. We can't look at all of the hobby the same way. There will be cards that go up based on performance. You know, maybe Jason Tatum goes up and maybe John Morant goes down. Just throwing two names out there. Please don't hate me on the John Morant or the Jason Tatum. You guys know I've bought and sold both of those guys, but you understand I'm trying to make the point here. We can't just say everything is going to go down 20%. It's possible, but I don't see it.
An account I love, Pump Pass Click, had a story post, which I agreed with. There was too many great cards on sale right now. And like Kate just said, it's not a broad brush stroke for every card. The cards I'm looking for are the cards that might have found a temporary home with somebody who's not a collector, and now they're trimming the fat. But that card that they're selling because they never really wanted it in the first place is a card that more than likely will never come up again. Or if it comes up again, it will not be as beautiful. The eye appeal won't be as amazing as this one for auction, if that makes sense.
Yeah, of course.
And the card that comes to my mind was a card that I didn't have enough liquidity to make a move on, but it was the Aquarella Pele card, which graded an SGC 4.5. But Cage, it was the nicest 4.5 I've ever seen. It was nicer than some PSA 6s of that Aquarella centering. It has those perforated edges. So, like you said, it's not every card. So, question number 2. What can other less mature hobbies learn from the sports card industry?
I'm trying to figure out what less mature hobbies. Are we talking about like Pogs? Are we talking about like
NFTs?
So you're talking about like other verticals? I mean, you know,
NFTs. What is it? Funkos. Game-worn memorabilia.
I mean, listen, there's a lot of fun things. Game-worn memorabilia, what people can learn in other hobbies is be careful about where you get your information from, because hobby booms are sometimes, you know, like our hobby, booms are sometimes born out of, you know, a lot of, you know, talking heads and influencers and the whole deal. And, you know, I was very curious about, you know, Game Worn. And if you go on Twitter, there are some very vocal people saying what they want you to hear about Game Worn. Doesn't necessarily mean that what they're saying is right. It more likely means that they're holding a lot of stuff that they're now telling you is what you should be trying to buy. I mean, NFTs, I don't even really want to talk about NFTs. I think NFTs will have their day. You know, the funny thing is that I think the hobby can actually learn something from NFTs. To reverse the question a little bit, you know, one of the things that people were saying, the influencers that I talk about with NFTs, was 99% of this, 99.9% of this is going to be worthless. You don't hear people saying that about the hobby. And yet, I'm going to tell you right now, 99.9% of what comes out of hobby factories is worthless. 99.9% by volume.
Out of Panini and Tops, you mean? Out of manufacturing.
And Upper Deck, out of manufacturers, yep. Yeah. And you know, what we mean by that is, you know, base cards, I mean, they're basically not even collectible. I mean, the top rookie cards, fine. But I mean, open a box of Heritage, and that's a couple hundred card set, right? Unless you get a short print in a box or anything, you know, even, you know, Julio Rodriguez, which is the top rookie, or Jeremy Pena. I don't even know if people are grading those anymore. I mean, they're worth a couple bucks, right? But, you know, over time, they're not really sought after. But every other card in the box is kind of, you know, from a fiscal value standpoint, there's nothing there. And you can ask people who've collected in the 2000s, ask people who collected in the 90s, the 80s. It's the same kind of thing. And I'll tell you, people who, you know, who find out I do cards, they're like, hey, I have all this. And they send me a picture. And it's a picture of exactly what I have in my basement. And it's just top set after top set after top set.
Cage replies with a poop emoji.
No, I say, you know what? If you want to, take that 85 top set out, open it up, take a look at what the Clemens looks like. Take a look at what the Pocket looks like. Take a look at what the Dwight Gooden, maybe the Mark McGuire, a couple of cards, 10 cards. but it's a 792 card set. You can take 770 of them and literally throw them in the garbage. From a value perspective, they're kind of cool. You build a set. There are people who build sets in the whole 9 yards, but from a fiscal standpoint, 99.9% of what's being made out there is going to be valueless.
So then I could flip this question on its head, because it was sort of one of those two-part questions. It was, what's one thing you learned about the business of the hobby in 2022?
I mean, that's a great question. I will tell you that the more I think about the hobby, where it's going, where it's gone, the more I realize that the divide of investor and collector is really more a divide of hobby versus business. It's really more a divide of hobby versus industry, if we like to call it that, right? And there's nothing wrong with it almost going on two tracks, right? Because when you try to force both of those hats onto the same head, usually you will end up with a little bit of a battle, right? And yeah, there's going to be people who do both. There are going to be people who try to, make money, myself included, right? Try to buy something low and sell it high. Plus, I have a PC of weird stuff like my George Gervin, logo man and that kind of stuff, right? But the split is much clearer when you start to talk about the business of the hobby, because there are people out there who don't care about the business of the hobby. Those are the people who, respond to my weird, hey, the hobby will be fine with, everything's going to be great. I collect my cards and that's all I care about. I buy the guys I like and I'm going to go and fill in my sets and blah, blah, blah. And you know what those guys never do? They never put a comment in my posts about Panini redemptions. They never put a comment in my post about customer service. They never put a comment in my post about what the hobby businesses need to do better. Maybe they've just been snake bit too many times and they just know, okay, this is the hobby that I've chosen. And, or maybe it's because they're not looking to actually profit on it. Maybe they're not looking for a corporate do-gooder, hey, Panini, you got to give back to us because we're all losing money now. No. But then there are the other side, right? The people who are in the business, and that business has grown tremendously. Think of all the people who were not in the hobby that are now throwing shows. Right? Think of the cottage industries, the businesses that have sprung up as part of the business of the hobby, ourselves included. There are people rapping. At least last year at Mint they rapped. I don't know if they've rapped since, but there are people rapping about the hobby, RPS. I think those guys are still in the hobby. So they're a business. I think. There are slab companies, there are grading companies, there are, supply companies. There are all these things that have sprouted up in the last couple of years. That is the business of the hobby. And I guess what I've learned is the business of the hobby, I believe, is in a tough spot because only a few of them are really geared toward both ends, the collector and the investor. It's why you see grading companies hit both we'll get these back to you with a quick turnaround time and it'll be cheap and you can buy it and have it in hand during season and sell it. But at the same time, talk about building up set registries and go ahead and compete and have the best set in the whole nut because they're trying to hit kind of both sides of it. That's difficult, man. And that's why some of the smaller grading companies don't do that. That's why, we'll call it out there, SGC. Like there's no registry, right? They're not talking about a registry. I don't think they're building a registry because right now what their focus is getting cards back into the hands of the people who want them back quicker, right? So that is that investor type, right? That is their investor type, right? Not, no real registry, no real data on it. So, listen, what have I learned about the business of the hobby in 2022? For the most part, a lot of the companies that have sprouted up don't really have much to do with collecting. How about that for a tagline?
Whew. And question number 3. Ladies and gentlemen listening, if you want your question featured, drop it in the comments for next Friday's episode. So, will modern Hall of Fame players, and he or she put 4 here, we're not going to discuss if they're going to be Hall of Famers or not because that's irrelevant, but will
just
modern Hall of Fame players, LeBron, Steph, Dame, hold the same value like some of the past insert sets from the 90s?
So you take this as like 90s insert sets.
Yes.
And I guess the question, if we're flushing it out, is will these guys, kabooms, let's say, be as good as like a Scoring Kings or, you know, a PMG or something like that. Like,
I thought the two that came to my mind was Splash, which was really popular. Optic Splash with like Curry. Have you seen those?
Yes, totally worthless.
Or
Completely.
My
It's got
House.
900 parallels, like the purple one, the hollow one, the non-hollow one. So, yeah, there's 400 of them. The
Well,
My
let's go
House, you're talking
through.
about like Optic?
Yeah. So
So,
is it that back in the 90s there was a few very iconic like hot hands sets? Is that why that they preserve value because it was so rare to hit one?
so great. I'll answer the question with a question to you. Do me a favor and tell me if I gave you a budget right now, I gave you money, I gave you
Yeah.
enough money, and you were going to go out there and let's just use, you got LeBron, Steph, Dame, Ja, let's say, you know, Jordan, Shaq, Olajuwon, and Barkley.
Okay.
What insert set are you buying their cards? Go. And I want you to name as many as come to the top of your head. I'm going to count it down like Jeopardy.
Hot Numbers is one, right? No, is it? What's the one with the fire? Can you stop? People listen on audio. This doesn't sound good to them. I think.
Thank you. You proved my point. We did the whole Jeopardy kind of thing. I didn't give you the whole 30 seconds because I don't like to whistle. But 90s inserts, you're someone who's in the hobby, you're a talking head in the hobby, you're an influencer, you're a genius. You are a basketball person. And I just named the 4 guys who anyone would collect. I mean, obviously there's some wiggle room in there, right? There are 4 guys to collect. And the best you could do to name 90s inserts for me was Hot Numbers and that thing with the fire. So you tell me if Optic
If you ask
Splash...
he knows those better.
Right. But what he would tell you is PMGs. He would tell you, you know, Flair Legacy, your row zeros, your numbered inserts. You know, he would tell you potentially from earlier 90s, your Scoring Kings. Hot Numbers is cool, but there's not many people that collect Hot Numbers. You know, there's a lenticular one. It's kind of a cool one, but I don't think it really have too much in the way of value. But you know, Scoring Kings, you know, Power and the Key, you know, then you get the numbered ones, right? I mean, where people would talk about. But think about that over an entire decade of, you know, collecting, right? There's a handful of insert sets for guys, and even with those guys, like how many people are out there? Hot Numbers, you said, like what's a Shaq PSA 10 hot number? $150, maybe. You know, I mean, Jordan has some real nice inserts, but Jordan is Jordan. You know, LeBron
489. The last one sold July 25th.
Yeah, so I mean, and it's probably less than that now. But there are, you know, the 90s had a lot of inserts. There are a ton of inserts that you could name. And yeah, there's plenty. Jambalaya, you know, there's all kinds of cool ones that you can name. And they have some collectability, but not, you know, I mean, Kobe, sure. You know, LeBron, sure. Will modern Hall of Fame players, LeBron, Steph, Dame, Ja, hold the same value like some of the past insert sets? I would say the answer is LeBron is the closest you're going to have to Jordan just because of their stature in the game. But you didn't know what, quote, insert set was going to be the hot one until recently. Do me a favor, guys, and take a look at the cards we're talking about and go back 3, 4, 5, 8 years. PMGs were being collected, but they weren't anywhere near the pricing that they are now. And those lead the bunch. So which one is the PMG? Everybody talks about in collecting now, this one's gonna be the next PMG. You even brought up someone from Elite. You know, like it's like, oh, there's an Elite
Donruss
one.
Elite.
Donruss Elite. I mean, clearly that's not going to be the PMG, but you thought it was, you know. And so if everybody has one, you know, then you don't know which one it's going to be. It makes it difficult to collect this stuff now. Also, I mean, for somebody like Ja, especially, whose rookie year and his entire career going to be played in a time of proliferation of cards, where the supply is just going to be endless, it's going to be difficult for me to say that the inserts will hold the same value like some of the past. That said, if you get the right one, like Kaboom, which I own one of, you know, I'm outspoken about how I don't think Kaboom is great. And now they've really, like, the print runs out there. They're not numbered. It makes it kind of tough. But let's just say the early Kabooms for LeBron, Steph, and Dame are the PMGs of this. They are the ones that people go after, right? And especially because they are pretty limited in those first, bunch of years. I think I have the 2015 LeBron in PSA 10. It's the only one. There's one in PSA 10, and I own it, right? So that's got some possibility of it being, a collectible thing. But the difficulty is going to be, what's the right one to collect? And you talk
And
about
at
this.
what price point too, right? Because
Yeah.
it could be collectible, but maybe the price you got it at, maybe it's collectible at $2,000, which is still a lot of money for a card, right? But a
Yeah.
drastic drop.
But I mean, guys, listen, I understand the point of the question, right? And let's just take it out from the specifics to the general for a second. Let's not worry about which insert it is or even which player it is. But we'll go back to those talking points where, I mean, I hate to bring them up again, but there have been a lot of cautionary sentences that came in during like influencers that, hey, 99% of these NFTs are going to be worthless. We all know who said that, right? I mean, who repeated that refrain? That was Gary V. And one of the things that he said about the cards was, be careful buying modern players, because what are the chances that these guys turn into a X? And did a whole bunch of comparison to people from the 90s, right? I mean, Steve Nash, what a great player he was, right? Steve Nash, a fantastic player. Jason Kidd, what a fantastic player. John Stockton holds the record for assists. I don't think anyone's going to break it anytime soon. And how many people are out there flexing their John Stockton cards? Sure, there are some that are collectible. There are some that have some value because they are limited in number and they're part of a high-end set, just like Johnny Moore is part of an 86 Flair set, so it has some value because it's difficult to collect in high grade and people build those sets. But barring that, I mean, Steph, I love Steph, right? What's a great comparison for Steph? What's another borderline top 10 player in NBA history? Tim Duncan? So could Steph's – I know it's a different player at a different time. I mean, Isaiah is not borderline top 10, but a good – I understand your comp. But use either one of them. Use either one, and the point there is not a lot of collectability of those guys. It is part of what we talked about with Cajun yesterday. There is a premium put on active players because you're able to watch your guy play that night. You're able to watch your guy go out there and drop a bucket. You're able to buy Luka for the potential that he has and the ability to flex your card on IG when he goes out and drops 60 points and does what he did the other night, right? There is some premium, some value there. The problem is we focus as a hobby way too much on that and don't take a second to look at what Gary was saying. I don't want to talk about it too much, right? But what he was saying was, take a second before you invest in someone and think about what their high side is. Think about what their ceiling is. And if their ceiling is Chris Bosh, well, look at what Chris Bosh's best cards sell for. There are that Eric Whiteback, Collectibles Guru, a deep value investor, like the guys who do this on Twitter, they make these posts. It's almost like goading you into it, right? But there's a reason why they post a picture of Peyton Manning's best card and compare it to Jalen Hurts' best or top selling card, and Jalen Hurts' card has sold for more. Dan Marino versus some of these guys, and you have to think to yourself, I'm spending this money on an unproven guy who could maybe one day be as good as Dan Marino, but take a second and look at what Dan Marino's cards were selling for. And I get it, right? There's more demand now for Ja than there is for any of the people we would talk about in the 90s, except maybe Michael Jordan. It might even be more demand for Ja now than Michael Jordan, believe it or not, because there's a lot of young kids who aren't buying Michael Jordan cards, they're buying Ja cards. But ultimately, the question then becomes, and this is the important thing of a question here, will modern Hall of Famers hold the same value? It's what happens when they're not playing? Now, hold the same value is what this question talks about. If you're buying those guys now and they're playing and they're still doing well and Steph is going to win another championship and LeBron's going to break records and maybe Dame does, I don't know what Dame's going to do, make another Modelo commercial. Ja maybe wins an MVP and, wins a championship. Who knows? You have the ability to sell those cards. They'll have value. They'll potentially go up in value. And you could be right. I held it and I had a window on it. But this question specifically talks about holding the same value. I think it's difficult after the playing career. Remember, that's a different window for these guys to hold value because, one, you got to be great. LeBron is, but I don't know where Dame's going to fall on that all-time great list, right? I mean, you tell me. We could probably come up with a bunch of players in the NBA who are, higher Oscar Robertson, higher than Dame, and they're not really collected, except for a smaller base. So really, what your question is, the demand is highest when they're playing, because you want to rock their jersey, you want to go out and be, that's my guy. But as their playing careers, there's less playing career, the demand also starts to go down. Then when they stop playing, the demand goes down. That demand will impact pricing. So you better be right when you're buying it. You better be right that it is a guy who is relevant after. And even if you happen to pick the right player and buy it at the right price, you also have to be buying the right insert. You have to be buying the right card. That's a lot that makes it tough to say yes to this question.
So, Luca Nation, again, if you want your question answered, throw it in the comments. It'll be for next week's show. I have one bonus question, and this one's from me. So, this is about vintage, and not specifically vintage as like the textbook definition, but more vintage as like a store of value. So, I looked at the card ladder index today, and the one index that overperformed every other one was pre-war vintage, actually. Mm-hmm. So, what defining characteristics make a card vintage? And I want to add a caveat. Make a card a vintage store of value, like a Gaudi Ruth.
I mean, what I would say, so the question, not vintage. I mean, we're going to get a lot of people, why did Andrew say vintage? Vintage is just old. Vintage is just Correct. Like vintage category, like pre-1972 or what. We're not going to talk about that. I think what you're asking.
That most of it is used as like, hey, go and buy vintage, but what people are really saying is go and buy cards that have a store
what
value
you're asking,
that for my kind of set.
What defining character? What do you look for in a card that you're looking to have in your collection as a store of value, rather than something to flip? You name it, right? So I think the first thing that I look at is cross-generational relevance. So that's number one, right? It's almost like, look, a lot of these cards, they're stores of value, even though they're not museum worthy, right? But it's almost like if you put that in a museum, your grandparent, your parent, and your kid would all have some idea of who it is, right? And what's being depicted there, right? Now that can change over time. The relevance of this stuff can change over time, right? Because when you think about it, oh, wow, that's got to be something old. Well, not really. Over the last 5 to 10 years, you could say that the right Messi card could potentially become a store of value card over time because of what he's done and what he's meant and become a GOAT. Same kind of thing can, but no one's going to call Messi cards vintage. Same thing with, Tom Brady's card. Clearly, even with its recent decline, that champ ticket is a huge, card. The fact that he's playing, the fact that it's modern means that instead of a store of value right now, it is one of those cards that has fluctuated. So you're not really putting your money in there to store value. So cross-generational relevance. And then in addition, it's something that has enough age to it that it has a proven track record, which in turn causes lower volatility in pricing, right? And even some vintage cards,
which proves why, with the Brady example, why Brady, who's playing, causes volatility.
Correct. But, you could say that there's been some volatility in vintage, with the recent couple of years. I've done this a couple of times on our show, guys. I tell you, you don't have to spend money for this. You don't have to have, a full paying card ladder account. Just go on PSA's website and hit, auction prices realized and pull up the Gaudi Ruth that you're talking about, any of them. Pull up 53, pull up 181, 140, 149, any of the four, and just go right ahead and look at what the chart looks like. You can do it for them if you feel like it, but there'll be basically a decade of slow and steady growth up until this recent kind of boom period. And, maybe they trickle down a little bit, maybe they've come down a little bit, the line is kind of there. What I would look at for a store of growth, it still remains to be seen what happens with that recent bump, that recent, come up. There are people out there who think that low grade vintage, even these Gaudi Ruths in PSA 2, which are now 12 grand, 5 times what they were before COVID, thinks that there's a bubble there. I don't necessarily agree with that, because the store of value on these things, I think if you take a look at the chart, it's a slow and steady one of these.
What do I search for on auction prices realized?
So you can go into the pop report, population report. If you
I'm
want
in
to share the
auction
screen, I can walk you
prices
through.
realized.
So scroll down, and you're in 33 Gaudi.
So 1933 Gaudi Benny Bengo.
Bengo would be card number 1, which, by the way, makes it an expensive card. He was a catcher in high grade, very expensive. Card number 1
Because it's card number 1.
Well, because when people stacked up their cards with a rubber band, that first card was often damaged, dinged, creased, edges done. Same thing with 1952 Topps Andy Pafko. That's card number 1 in the 52 Top set.
Okay, so what do I search in auction prices realized?
Just go down. It'll give you a checklist. Go to card number 53 if you want. That's the yellow Babe Ruth.
So that would be on page number 3. No, that would be on page number 2.
I told everyone it would be easy, but if you want to share,
Babe Ruth.
I can walk you through it.
Oh, I'm not sharing?
No.
Go.
I could help you out with it if you were sharing for the group. Still not sharing. Maybe it's because of the screen being like this,
There you go.
large. Nope. There, it's tiny. Yeah.
Tiny?
So,
There we go.
you're sharing it like small. Now it's just my big head. Now it's the two of us, but still no sharing. That's okay. It's good enough. All right. Yeah. So you'll see on this. You can see, prices in different grades, recent prices. But there's the chart, right? So there's auction prices realized for different. And scroll down even more on this one, and then go up a little more and click the prices on this one. The one that says prices. Scroll up more, a little more. Keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going. Right, yeah, prices. Right there. Yep. Click that one for me. And then scroll down to the chart. And you're going to go to Babe Ruth on this one, and you'll see different prices and different grades. Pretty crazy, right?
I've never used this.
No? So, it gives you all the different prices. What I would tell you is the easiest way to do this, go into the pop report on it. If you scroll up to the top, so there you can shop on and see if there's anything there. You can see the values of them. But go up to the pop report, scroll up for me. And click pop. Yep, 100%. Thank you. And then scroll down to number 53 and click the Ruth. And, guys, it's just, it's a little clunkier, right? But, this is different. It's not doing exactly what what normally would. While you're on Google here, get out of the PSA page and just do me a favor and type PS in Google, PSA 1933 Gaudi Ruth number 53. Just type that in Google and watch what pops up. And guys, why I'm doing this, and it's taking some time here, obviously, and we probably lost you with this, is there's a free chart, but it's going to show you a chart. You can just click on that for the PSA. So now scroll down. There you go. It's got the card, the player. Scroll down. This is just for this card, and look at the chart. So there's pop report, but go one further down. Condition census, prices by grade. It gives you all the information you want on this. Auction prices realized, and you can see over time how it's selling, how it's changed, and you can kind of chart it. And if you go back for a period, I would say 08 to 2018, slow and steady growth, and then boom, kind of an increase on it. So loads of fun. A lot of information, right, on there?
Tons.
Yeah.
It's back to your original topic, the second I want to, who are you tailoring towards the flipper or tailoring towards a collector? Building out a data tool like that pulls in all that stuff, auction prices by grade and all that stuff. That's pretty cool. I know you're a big fan of the set registry.
Yeah, well, listen, certain cards only have value because of the set that they're in. Those 33 Gaudis, there are commons in that set that sell for a lot. Benny Bengo is a great example of it, right? I had a lot of that set. For a while, I was trying to build it in 4 to 6 grade. Earl Averill, Hall of Famer, never even heard of. It is 6. It cost me a little bit of money, but
a little bit.
No, but so I guess just to kind of finalize the question on this one is that what defining characters? Yeah, no, that card is a great example, right? There are people out there, just kind of a little bonus answer my own question. There are people out there who think that what we've seen here is people get burned in modern cards, and you're talking about it as store of value, right? Not every card that's old or the right name is a store of value right now, especially with the run-up in pricing. And I've seen some, some Twitter posts. I've seen some, stuff about, hey, these guys who were buying Evan Mobley, who were buying, Trevor Lawrence or Trey Lance, they've taken their profits and they've bought into low grade vintage. Willie Mays' third year in a PSA 4. This particular card we just looked at in a PSA 1 or 2. And if you look at the price has gone up because of it, price has gone up because of it. And what's funny is at first I didn't think that would make sense. Like, why would they do that, right? I mean, this is not a flipping card. But the more I think about it, maybe we can bring on the Twitter guy, Deep Value. We'll bring him on, have him, talk about his bubble theory, and we can debate it out, right? But the more I think about it, the validity of it is, remember we had the Iron Sheik on from Alt, and we had a whole episode of creative pricing. Is low grade vintage now an area where these folks can do creative pricing the way that they were able to do it before with the no pop private sale? I flew to Norway. I mean France. No, I meant Norway, and I got this card, and I'm not telling anyone how much I paid for it because I want to be able to sell it for more money. Right? Remember that whole craziness? We want more of you, Shyway Vlogs. We need more of you. I still don't understand exactly where you were when you bought that card, but it was somewhere in Europe.
Who you were with.
Or
what you were doing.
Can they now be creative pricing low-grade vintage? Are they now putting that on the table and say, yeah, I know that's a 2, but look at the eye appeal on that, man. That would get a PWCCS. Look at the eye appeal on this. Mike Baker got this in front of him. He'd give it 12 diamonds. Black ones, gold ones, and silver ones. It would have diamonds all over Babe Ruth's face. Look at the centering. This is a 2. Yeah. If they graded it now, it would be a 4. It's worth double what a real 2 is. Like, is the creative pricing now? Are they able to be creative now in this new kind of niche with cards? Maybe. It's interesting. Interesting to think about.
Leave these people wanting more. The last coffee with Cage before 2023. We love you guys. This is probably our last episode before 2023 because we'll be doing the PWCC weekly auction. Thank you guys for following along with the journey. We got huge plans for 2023. I was making a little proposal today, and the line was, we started as a small podcast looking to educate and entertain, and we've grown this into a network of shows for everybody who's a collector, who's its first day in the hobby, to someone who's been in the hobby for life, somebody who loves, TCG and all that stuff. Those are our plans. That's our goal. That's our roadmap, to have a ton of different shows that really add value to the hobby and build a better community. So stay tuned. Thank you all for your support. Thank you all for listening, for commenting, for subscribing, for sharing, because, we would just be two talking heads talking to the brick wall behind Cage's head if it wasn't for our amazing community. Thank you, guys. Cage, any final words before we hit the end recording button?
After that, I thought you were going to start singing. Started from the bottom, now we're here. I thought there was, some champagne poppy coming for New Year's, man. I wish,
man. He's a talented guy. I don't have his vocals. I could beat him in ball, though, I think.
What's funny, just a little tangent here, just like Game Worn, they could find a photo match. Did you read the article that they found some original Drake lyrics in a dumpster and it's coming for auction? Like he wrote them when he was a high school kid or something. I don't know. So it's like, wow, where were these things? And
in the dumpster?
I think they found them in like a garbage somewhere or something like that. It's like, it's old lyrics. I didn't read the whole article. I just saw a headline, which is my bad for bringing it up. You shouldn't bring up just headlines without reading the article. But yeah, allegedly coming to auction now are some real early Drake lyrics, if you're into that kind of thing. No, so 2022, guys, listen. 2022, 2023, everybody's making predictions. Everybody's doing look backs. Everybody's doing all that fun stuff. We'll have December 31st and then January 1st, and sure, the calendar changes. I think, the one thing that I'll say going into 2023 hobby-wise is I'm not going to make yearly goals. Right? There is too much going on in the hobby. There are too many events. There are too many sales. There are too many sporting things. There's too many damn episodes for me to think about what's going to be happening in May, let alone October. And I think if I can request something from you guys, I would say you should do the same. From your hobby perspective, take it day by day. Take it week by week. Set some small goals for yourself. If it's redoing your PC, we talked about consolidation a lot, that's fine. If it's moving out of some cards and moving into other ones, if it's, establishing a new little side PC and something that you enjoy, maybe a TV show you like, do that. It's a fun part, but don't. I would try to stay away from, hey, 2022, I didn't really do what I wanted, but in 2023, I'm going to make $1 million on cards. Okay, great to have those kind of aspirations, but maybe say in January you're going to get 10% of the way there or 8% of the way there, and you're on pace. And start little stuff and build on it. And I guess the last part is many people listening to this came to the hobby in the last couple of years. What I would say is, as you move into 2023, think about what it was that initially brought you here and lean on that. And if it was instant profits and I'm going to flip and mug life to the moon, you may not find that in 2023, and you may not find that again for decades. That doesn't mean you have to leave. Find something else that you enjoy about it, because my hope is that during the 2 or 3 years that you've been here, you found a community that you like. You found a show, hey, wink, wink, that you like. And you could build on that, and it can replace that instant gratification of, I got to flip this Devontae Graham. I know what happened for me. So, yeah, we're here for you. Happy New Year, guys.